Hi! In these upcoming videos, we are going to share our take on moving and living in Indonesia. What are the pros and cons? What do you need to know? And more importantly, is it a great place to live? And in our case, as a family.
Yeah, that's the question. But before we start, we are Matt and
Monico.
And currently living in the Netherlands. But we have lived in several countries before, including Indonesia. In our videos, we give tips on moving and living abroad based on our own experiences and based on all the things we have learned for our next move, which we hope to do within 2 years' time with our 7-year-old son.
So, Indonesia, yes, it has been on our list of places to move to again for many years, and we are still considering it as an option for our next move. There is just so much to figure out if Indonesia is the place for us and perhaps for you too. So that's why we decided to divide Indonesia in a whole series of videos. So make sure you subscribe to our channel and hit the notification button so you know when we have uploaded the next videos.
Today we're going to focus on why you should even consider Indonesia. Over the years we have been there many times. What is it that makes it so attractive and perhaps even an option to move to? That's the big question.
Well, for me, my mom is Indonesian, so I have a lot of family there and have been going there ever since I was a little girl. Indonesia has always attracted me, and from when I was young, I always made choices that eventually led me to Indonesia, such as doing voluntary work for a year there, doing my internship and thesis, and eventually working a short period of time there and living together with Matt.
Yes.
Being half Indonesian, you would say that I consider it as my second home, and at certain moments I do feel that way, but being half Indonesian and growing up in other countries, I still feel like a foreigner there, which is probably normal. So it doesn't necessarily mean that Indonesia is the place where I would like to live long term in the near future.
Yeah. And for me, before I met Monico, I was already fascinated by Indonesia. When I was a teenager, I already read books about the fierce headhunting Dayak tribe living in the jungle of Kalimantan, also known as Borneo. I highly recommend the book The Great Borneo Expedition, written by Henk Schiefmacher, the famous tattoo artist and close friend of the lead singer of the Red Hot Chili Peppers, Anthony Kiedis. Together with a couple of friends, they decided to hike through the jungle of Borneo. It's an hilarious book and still one of my favorite travel books ever. So it was a huge coincidence when I met Monico in college. You know, we were around 18 and we already had this instant click, remember? And over the years, you know, when we started dating and became a couple, we always talked about moving to Indonesia. How good would it be, right? Anyway, we went on holiday there together, but when we had the opportunity to live there for a year, I was happy to leave everything behind and go. At that time, we were just in our 30s, right?
Yes, and we had a great time living there, but there were several things we were struggling with as well. And these things are likely going to be the yes or no to moving to Indonesia.
Yeah. Hopefully, our views can help you make the decision for yourself. You know, whether Indonesia is a country you like to move to. First of all, it's really difficult to generalize all the information about Indonesia. Why? Because it is a massive country with over 17,500 islands. It has a population of 267 million people and there are around 300 ethnic groups. Each island and its people are different from one another. And you can pretty much say that each island is a whole new country, so to speak, you know, or a separate country.
Yes, so true. For instance, people in Java are known to be soft and graceful, while the people in Sumatra, especially the north, are more fierce and physically and verbally more rough. And not to forget the Dayak tribes and the Iban tribes in Kalimantan, which lived mostly from the rainforest not too long ago.
Yeah. So it's pretty difficult to give you a straightforward answer about living in Indonesia. You know, what is it like? It all depends on which island you go to. You know, we live together in Bogor, which is a city located just south of the capital, Jakarta. And we loved living there, like she just said, you know. Yes, it was far crowded, but less than Jakarta, where you have around 10 million people. Bogor is known for its large trees, its daily tropical shower in the late afternoons, and somewhat refreshing climate. But I heard from my mother-in-law that it has become crazy busy over the years.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I want to go back and see how Bogor has changed so much. Besides Bogor, I also lived a long period of time in Medan with my grandmother and my parents. Medan is located on the island Sumatra and is the third largest city of Indonesia. It is a typical busy Indonesian city. So yes, there are some nice historical areas there and several parks, and the area around Medan is amazing. But if you don't need to move there for business, then I think you shouldn't be there at all.
No.
For tourism, Medan and its surroundings have much to offer. But if you're seeking more quality of life, then you should look somewhere else. Yeah, and I also lived in East Kalimantan for a while in the city Tanjung Redep. These cities in less populated areas are totally irrelevant when you're considering moving to Indonesia, since they are mostly created during the transmigration period, where lots of Japanese people were promised a better life on the other islands. Plus, it is very focused on Indonesia's natural resources, such as mining and logging.
Yeah.
So definitely not a place to be.
Pretty boring, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So as you can tell, the places we have experienced so far in Indonesia are very different from one another. That said, most points that we are going to discuss in this video can be applicable for Indonesia as a whole. So let's start with why you should consider living in Indonesia.
First and most importantly, the people. Indonesians are extremely friendly and easygoing. Initially, don't expect long conversations about the purpose of life or politics or climate change, but you can easily connect with Indonesians through humor. It seems all they want to do is joke around and just laugh. I think this is something other countries could learn from. And it doesn't mean that they are not having a difficult time, but they are able to put it aside and enjoy a short interaction together.
Yeah. Yes, and what I find so different compared to other countries is the fact that the Indonesians are extremely helpful. Not only one, but more and more people will gather around if they feel like they can help you out too. It can be overwhelming sometimes, but in the end, it's also an amazing experience. I remember one time, we were driving through this narrow two-way street in Jakarta and the traffic just stopped. It came to a complete halt. The whole street was congested and we thought we wouldn't be able to get out, because on both sides of the narrow street there was this huge sewage, this kind of water ditch to catch all this tropical rain. But luckily, the Indonesians are always willing to help. So there were people actually guiding the cars through this narrow street. We had to drive our car just inches from the edge of this ditch so we could get out. It would have not been possible if they were not willing to help, right? It was great experience.
Yes, we have been in so many situations that we were so grateful that there were people who were willing to help. Another point that we really love about Indonesia is its diversity. Not only the nature on the many islands, but also within the population. Matt just mentioned that the people of each island are totally different, not only in their way of life, but also in religion. 86% of the population is Muslim, 10% are Catholic, and 2% are Hindu. And in the past, these religions could coexist beautifully. And I remember that the Indonesians were proud of the fact that a church and a mosque could be found next to each other. But nowadays, after many conflicts and economic challenges, things have somewhat shifted. Yeah. So the presence of the Islam is quite strong in Indonesia, and I feel like it is getting more strict compared to the past. Yeah. In many areas, you need to dress appropriately, and it is even expected that as a woman, you swim with your arms, shoulders, and upper legs covered. So I swam many times with clothes on in Sumatra. But then again, there is still a bit of flexibility compared to other Muslim countries. In Indonesia, women are not always fully covered, especially in bigger cities in Java or the other islands where the majority is Catholic or Hindu, such as on Sulawesi, the Maluku Islands, and Bali.
Yeah.
Hi guys, sorry for the sudden interruption, but while I was editing the video, this suddenly emerged online on the 6th of December 2022, which states Indonesia bans sex outside marriage in new criminal code. So this means that unmarried couples are not allowed to, for instance, share a hotel room. And if they do, then the punishment will be up to 1 year in jail. And this is not only for Indonesians, but also for foreigners. So they're planning to implement this law in 2025. And yeah, we'll see what the impact will be. But yeah, it is a very crucial point to consider if you are thinking about moving to Indonesia, of course.
With diversity in people comes diversity in food, of course. I think you need a lifetime to be able to taste all those amazing dishes from all the regions. Our favorite is Padang food from West Sumatra. The dishes are often creamy because they love using coconut milk. And for this reason alone, we really recommend moving to Indonesia. Nature and wildlife in Indonesia is also amazing. They have tropical rainforests with unique animals such as the orangutan and flying squirrels, but also active volcanoes and not to forget those gorgeous beaches for surfing and diving. So as you can imagine, when living in Indonesia, you will be able to enjoy a very diverse country. It's easy to hop on a domestic flight and visit beautiful parts of Indonesia. You will never get bored flying from island to island to island to island.
Yeah, but where will you live in Indonesia?
That's the question.
Well, most expats live in Jakarta. These expats come from all over the world. So far, we haven't really lived in Jakarta. However, Bogor is the city next to it, so we kind of experienced Jakarta firsthand. Most expats who live in Jakarta are there for work. But to be honest, we never really liked the city, even though it seems more people are appreciating it more because it has changed over the years with this modern-looking skyline. But I can't imagine anyone choosing Jakarta as the place to be if you had a choice.
Yeah. There are beautiful neighborhoods though, where most expats are able to live in huge houses surrounded by gardens along quiet streets with massive tropical trees on both sides, We're talking about areas such as Pondok Indah, Other popular neighborhoods are Sudirman, Kuningan and Mentang because of their location near the commercial and cultural center of Jakarta. Plus, for families, there are numerous international schools you can choose from. So that's where most people hang out. But Jakarta, it's crazy. Like most parts of Indonesia, Jakarta is suffering from overpopulation and greed. It's so obvious, Traffic is unbelievable. Expect to miss your flight a couple of times, even if you leave hours before, because you're stuck forever in these traffic jams. And rubbish can be found everywhere. So yes, those are the big cons for us, right?
Yeah, and what I find really disturbing is the ongoing development of shopping malls. In some areas, you can find massive shopping malls along every corner, almost side by side. It looks all nice and flashy, but it has led to a disappearance of natural buffers, leading to floods during the rainy season. And they still keep building one project after another. It's so money-driven and short-term thinking.
Yeah. You have to keep in mind that life in Jakarta seems to be centered around shopping malls and numerous restaurants. When we were living in Indonesia, we hardly went to Jakarta. Only to visit our family, get our visa at the immigration office, and to have some sushi. I know. And now with our son, honestly, I can't imagine living there. We don't want him to turn into a child who hangs out in the shopping mall after school or in the weekends. Sorry, it's not gonna happen. Plus, the majority of Jakarta isn't walkable. Public transport has improved incredibly, but Jakarta has what Monico and I call an air conditioning culture. Always going from one closed area with air conditioning to another area with air conditioning. Just to avoid the blistering heat. No, not our cup of tea.
Yeah, and like many cities in developing countries, poverty is also excessive in Jakarta. The rich are extremely rich, and you can see the poor living in the worst conditions, such as along a river full of rubbish between two busy highways in improvised housing. If you have a choice, we recommend avoiding this city that is literally drowning in traffic, air pollution, floods, and rubbish. for us, we do not believe that Jakarta will offer a better quality of life.
No, it's not quality of life, right? Not at all. No. Anyway, so where should you go next? Over the years, Bali has become a famous place for expats and digital nomads, especially for those people looking for a slower pace of life. I'm actually surprised that the number of expats living in Bali is far less than Jakarta.
Yeah, perhaps most people living in Bali don't have the type of residence visa like those in Jakarta who are there on a work permit. So in Bali, maybe most people enter with a multiple entry visa, which is not registered as a resident.
Yeah, business visa or that's
exactly.
right. Okay, now, we will get into detail about the visa possibilities in our next video. We need to figure out what type of visas there are for Indonesia, because after traveling to Bali countless times, it is high on our list of places to move to. Once you've been there and you are enchanted about the people, their way of life and their nature, then you are hooked. We even made a website about it.
Yes, and if you want to check the website out, we have added the link in the description box. We fully understand why people want to live in Bali.
Yeah.
Living there will feel like living in a luxurious paradise. Not only is the design of most places beautiful, but the whole natural setting and the local architecture is unique.
Yeah, very, very unique. Just picture living there, and being able to head to the beach, eat in restaurants and serve organic, healthy food while smelling this familiar Balinese essence, from all those offerings they place on the street or on the beach. You're surrounded by friendly, happy people, It feels like paradise, to be honest.
Yeah, definitely. I wouldn't mind living a life like that. So, what I also like about Bali is that it has always been a destination for art, mindfulness, design, and innovation. This melting pot of people with various backgrounds from all over the world has resulted in a lot of innovative ideas. Whether it is sustainable farming, use of natural materials, organic cuisine, or health-related things and so on, Bali is often ahead in those areas compared to other countries.
Yes, and despite these great initiatives, unfortunately, like most parts of Indonesia, greed and short-term gain seems to have transformed Bali as well. It feels like every remaining open space must make way for villas, either for tourists or expats. The island has become overpopulated, and this comes with other problems such as lots of natural environment, water shortage, and tons of rubbish, right?
Yeah. Yes, and we don't understand why it hasn't stopped yet. Of course, if we would head there, we would be part of the demand and so part of the problem.
Yeah.
But we don't get that people keep on building while there is enough property available. Once nature is taken away, it cannot be returned.
No, everybody wants its own piece of paradise. They keep on building for whatever reason, For that reason, we have started considering other islands. But in Indonesia, we find it difficult to blend in, Of course, wherever you decide to live in Asia, you will always be the foreigner. That's normal. But if you live in other islands, such as Sumatra or other parts of Java, Indonesians are starstruck about you. You will always be called. It's a friendly way, but it can get annoying if it happens numerous times every day. Indonesians who are not used to seeing foreigners just look and act differently around you.
Yeah, I remember that my dad used to be fine about it. I never understood how he dealt with it.
No.
But he would just jump on his bike and cycle around town, and literally every minute of his bike tour he would hear people calling, "Hey mister, where are you going?"
Mister.
Or, "Mister, how are you?" But I guess my dad always had this I don't care Dutch mentality, or he was used to it since he had been living in Indonesia on and off since the 1970s.
Yeah. So, if you want to be part of the community, we suggest looking at Jakarta and Bali. Lombok is also a great option, but this island is less developed. Which is of course great if you don't want to live in a crowded place,
Sure.
but there will be less facilities of course. Something that can be a deal breaker if it is your first time living abroad or if you have children. And you have to be into surfing if you want to go to Lombok.
Additionally, you might think that the cost of living is much less than back home. Yes, you will be able to afford more luxury with an expat salary, but in the end, Jakarta and Bali are more expensive than you would expect.
Yeah.
We made a huge calculation mistake when we thought that we could spend a whole year with our savings of 25,000 US dollars in Bogor, but in the end, it was not enough. So be aware that when you move to Indonesia, you will need a good monthly income.
Yeah. But more on that in our next video, where we will focus on the practical aspects of living in Indonesia. You know, we'll be talking about visa, housing, healthcare, schooling, and the cost of living, you know. This will, of course, be followed by a video why or why not we would move to Indonesia. Hope to see you there again.
For now, we want to thank you for watching till the end of this pretty long video. And if you liked it, please click the like button and subscribe so you can see more on moving and living abroad.
Yeah. More information on moving to Indonesia will be posted soon. Bye bye for now.
Bye.
Bye.